You're listening to Happy Healthy Hormones with Dr. Chris. Are you tired of the short-term patch to your health problems? Is avoiding medications and surgeries important to you? If you answered yes, then your prayers have been answered. Dr. Chris has been helping people transform their health for over a decade. He's a world-renowned health expert who specializes in holistic health. He's a professional speaker, chiropractor, and international best-selling author. It's his mission to help you reach your full God-given potential through holistic health and healing. Get ready to be inspired and transformed. Here's your host, Dr. Chris.
Hey everyone, this is the show where disease takes a dive and people come to thrive. And today, I want to talk to you about the cost of poor health. What is it really costing you right now when you are skimping on your health, just trying to accumulate wealth in your life? The average American is just one crisis away from losing all the materialistic things that they've created in their life because someone in their life has lost their health. We spend more money on our cars, on our homes, on our vacations, and all these things that are all great in the moment, but don't really mean a whole lot when you don't have your health. How many of you remember who Steve Jobs was? Right? He was the creator of Apple, the iPhone. Everyone probably has one of his products in their home right now. But at the time of his death, he was worth an estimated $31 billion. That's right, $31 billion. I'm curious though, how many of you would want to trade places with him right now? Of course not. Nobody would. And that right there teaches us that our health is worth at least $31 billion. True or true? However, how many of our actions today are leading us in that direction that we believe that health is really more important than these other things, and our actions are actually showing us that we don't believe that we're skimping on our health just to accumulate wealth. And I see so many Americans today going their whole lives of accumulating this wealth, putting off their health just to get into retirement, having to spend all that wealth just trying to get back their health. It's counterproductive, it's frustrating for people, and it's the biggest thing I see as the biggest just drain, energy zapper, just depression central when you have lost your health. So we can't take these things with us, right? We can always buy a new car if we need to. We can always get that new big screen TV, but you can't replace your body, right? We can try to put new organs in there and new parts, but it's never the same. And Americans spend more money than any other country on their health. In fact, the U.S. spends $3.2 trillion on their health. That's growing at a rate of almost 6% a year. So it boils down to about $10,000 per person per year in our country. Now, just to give you some perspective on what it really costs you to develop a chronic disease, like cancer, like heart disease, like diabetes. For instance, cancer. Surgery for cancer will cost you anywhere from $14,000 to $57,000. Chemo will cost you anywhere from $11,000 to $14,000 per month. Now, the average person that goes through chemo has 4 months of that. You do the math. Radiation therapy, anywhere from $11,000 to $13,000 a month. Average person has to go through at least 2 months of that. Right? So it just starts to add up. We look at heart disease. Average person will spend, once they get diagnosed with heart disease, $109,000 over their lifetime. In fact, Americans spend $444 billion. This was just back in 2014. So when we look at that, we have to understand, really, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we creating? What are we really leading ourselves down a really slippery road? Now, when we look at being overweight, right, what does that really cost you? Is it just really costing you not being able to fit in those skinny jeans? Right? Is it just costing you maybe not being able to be as active as you want? No. It's costing you buco bucks. In fact, being overweight will cost you, and I'm not talking about like hundreds of pounds overweight. I'm talking just like 20 pounds overweight, will cost the average American $92,000 over their lifetime. Man, think about what you could get for $92,000, right? And then we look at things like back surgery. Now, this is a big one. Now, people don't realize that back surgeries have a pretty low success rate. In fact, the same back surgeries they've been doing for the last 30 years, they're still doing with still the same crappy rate of success. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that has back surgery doesn't get some relief, but the statistics show that only about 17% of back surgeries are successful. And within 5 years, the average person has gone back to where they were before that surgery or even worse. So back surgeries will cost you anywhere from $112,000 to $169,000. Now, you say, Dr. Chris, well, I have great insurance, right? It wouldn't cost me that much. Well, let's say that you have quote unquote great insurance and they pay 80% of that surgery. It's still going to cost you $28,000 out of your pocket. That's insane, right? So, really, what are you doing? And then just to more than likely be back to where you were within 5 years and worse, is that really worth it to you? Would it have made more sense to do some things that were proactive instead of reactive in your life? Now, one of the most common surgeries in America today is the appendix surgery. This is ridiculous. People think it's normal to get your appendix out. I just had a patient come in today and be like, oh yeah, I've had the usual surgeries, my appendix, my gallbladder, my tonsils. Like this is normal, right? But appendix surgery on average costs about $33,000 and as high as $180,000. So let's say again, you have that great insurance. In that best case scenario, it's still going to cost you over $6,000, almost $7,000 just to get your appendix out, right? And those were parts that God created you to have. Now we look at heart surgery specifically. That'll cost a person anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000. Again, we get back to that great insurance. Still going to cost that person anywhere from $16,000 to $40,000 out of their pocket. So, there's hidden costs too in these things. So a lot of people don't even realize that it's not just about what your insurance is going to cover or not going to cover, but it's things that you never even expect. So the cost of the travel to and from your physical therapist appointments and your doctor's appointments and everything else, the gas included in that, the lodging, right? The meals that you have to do, whether it's heart disease, cancer, you name it, right? You're at these hospitals, you're at these clinics, the daycare you might have to pay for, the lost time off of work, special supplements or equipment that you're going to have to pay that your insurance isn't going to cover because maybe it's experimental or maybe they don't just want to pay it. It's not in your policy. Not to mention the loss of cost you get in just the quality of life. There's no price you can really put on that. Right? Now, insurance that covers 100% of your condition or ailment or surgery, whatever you're doing, is very rare. In fact, almost 30% of cancer patients reported mass debt or bankruptcy. It's a third of the people. And almost 40% of the people that were diagnosed with cancer had to delay their retirement because it just put such a huge financial stress on their lifestyle, right? And premiums keep going up, and healthcare costs for a family of 4 now is over $24,000. In fact, I had a patient come in today that told me that he paid $24,000 a year for his family. So, and think about that, and he doesn't even get 100% coverage, right? Like even if he breaks his arm, it's still only 80%. So what's really happening there? Now, when we look at things like AARP and Fidelity and other major financial institutions, they've estimated that a couple retiring today at the age of 65 needs a minimum of $240,000 to $267,000 for their future healthcare costs. That's a lot of dinero. Right now, here's a statistic with cancer patients. The second year post-cancer diagnosis, so the second year after you've been diagnosed, people with those cancer diagnoses were earning 40% less income. But they're putting out more money out of their pocket, right, to cover all these expenses. And even 5 years later, incomes hadn't recovered. It takes its toll. Now, chronic disease, like the cancer, like the heart disease, like the diabetes, account for 81% of hospital admissions, 91% of prescriptions that are filled, 76% of all physician visits. So it's just not worth it. Right? I had this patient several years ago, Greg, came in, 60 years old, facing back surgery. He was literally a month away. It was already scheduled. It was going to cost him $20,000 out of his pocket. He was forced to retire early, couldn't travel, couldn't work on his farm, couldn't even play with his grandkids. Right? So instead of going down that road, he said, hey, what if there's something better? So he came in, we started to analyze what was going on. We found that he had damage in his nervous system that was still correctable without surgery. Results, he ended up not having to go with that surgery. His surgeon looked at him a couple months after we started care, said, hey, you know what? We're not going to do this surgery. That was 4 years ago. Off almost all of his medications, got back to traveling, farming, playing with his grandkids, lost 40 pounds. Probably cost him a couple $1,000s over, several months to get that correction that he needed. But how much was that worth it to him? Right? So it all comes down to really get back to function. Function, food, fitness, filter, and freedom. Applying those 5 foundations, and those are the key to you not being just a victim to medical costs and bankruptcy. So what does it cost you, really, to live good habits? Well, the average adult, assume you're age 40 when you start living a good life, and you live to the age of 79, which is the average life expectancy today, and you spend on organic groceries, you spend $7,400 a year. So organic groceries average about 42% more. That's being not considered, that's being on the high side. So over your lifetime on the high side, you spend over $121,000 on those organic groceries. You get a gym membership, another $27,000. You take the basic supplements, omegas, vitamin D3, a multivitamin, $54,000. Chiropractic care, you get that twice a month to maintain your nervous system. It's going to cost you about another $73,000 over that time, over those 40 years. It would cost you about $276,000 over your lifetime to create those good habits versus the average person would have to, by the time they just hit age 65, would have to spend at least $267,000 on all these chronic diseases that would have been helped and drastically decrease the risk of developing those just by living those good habits. So conservatively, it would cost you about $500,000 to not have that healthy lifestyle, which would leave you, when you do the math, you would end up saving you and putting an extra $224,000 in your pocket for retirement. Man, what would you do with that? Right? How would that change your life? Right? Even if you were talking about a family, the $24,000 a year for 4 people in the family, and it's costing you $6,100 a person. The lifestyle I just mentioned you above for your family will cost you about $3,500 a person. Almost half the savings. So again, it's not about what you can do now to skimp on your health. It's about what you can do now to preserve the integrity of your health and live a quality life. And you're not going to see the savings right up front. You're not. But you're going to see the savings when you get down into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and you have that quality of life, which you cannot put a price on. And that's what I want for people. That's what I want you guys to understand from this, is making that switch to start investing in your health and investing in you. So until next time, remember, you don't need any help healing, just no interference.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please help more people in reaching their fullest potential and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to newedgewellness.com.